Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this. Hey guys, welcome to Uncovered. I've got an amazing businesswoman here, Samantha J. How are you?
I'm doing really good, Jace. How are you going today? Yeah,
pretty good. Doing my best. Trying to keep out of trouble. Doesn't work, but you know, I'm always trying. So, really want to talk to you about, you know, success in business, you know, being a female entrepreneur and you know, the roadblocks that you've had in your life, like where you've gotten stuck with your sharing, what you've changed over the last couple of years. You know, I know you're in our academy, so I know that you've made some significant internal changes. I'd love to know, you know, where you're at now and what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Jace. I actually just a couple of weeks ago, I put together this little video of who I was before I joined the academy and who I am now. And I'm just shocked, you know. Before I joined the academy, I had spent about just under 10 years, you know, in entrepreneurship, building my family's property development company by 1,600%. But in those recent years, I had been traveling the world, learning from different people about healing and trauma and sexuality. And when I came to the academy, I was in a place where even though I'd done all this self-help and development work, I kept going around in the same spiral. You know, I felt like, wait a second, I'd been doing this work for so long, but I was still battling with the same themes. And when I came to the academy, it was like everything everybody else had been telling me to do, it was like the opposite of that.
Yeah, it is a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah. So I was like, wow, this is, you know, it wasn't about becoming something better. It was like accepting myself really as I am. And this was really hard for me because there's been like this paradox of myself my whole life where I'm like being a very successful woman, but I've struggled with my emotions, being human, you know, not meeting my own expectations and struggling with things like relationships and intimacy. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm like, I can be so good in this area and I'm stuck here. And what I've learned through the academy is to just get this much deeper understanding of who I am and learn to accept really who I am rather than keep wishing to want to be something other than what I am. And I've learned that this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, which is like nothing will ever be good enough syndrome and this huge need for like significance and validation and approval outside of ourselves. And what I've learned through the academy is to love and approve of myself and start to fill up my own buckets in that way.
Yeah, and I think this is really, really important. Like I've had lots of people who have had lots and lots of personal development experience and they flip out a little bit on our work, and you did that. I remember you when you were joining, it's like, what the fuck is he on about? And because I've learned this, we learn what I call a cookie cutter normal approach to self-development, and it's all the same. And so you go and see the shaman, you go and see the you know, I've had people who have gone and seen Rinpoches and all of these people that are teaching them a certain philosophy, which is very, very similar wherever you go. And then you're taught something. And what I've learned is that every time that we get taught by something in this approach, we're actually hiding ourselves. And that's what I saw you doing. you were hiding your constructs. And this is what entrepreneurs do. And this is what I found, is that they come and see me and it's like, this is all my stuff's going on. And then they go, hey, everything's good, guys. Everything's going well. Just want to let you know all's good. And I'm here to help you. And that must be really hard.
Yeah, 100%. And I see how I'm trying, like actually what's enabled me to change that is seeing you do that. See you as a leader, just model this vulnerability and realness and authenticity and the way that you show up in your good cause. I just hadn't seen someone do it. I hadn't seen them do it, but also be successful for it. So I was afraid that if I do that, no one will buy from me. I won't be good enough. I won't be seen as an authority. And so like, that's what I think we need is we need to see a model of it, somebody really being the real deal of it. And I've seen you doing that. And now my clients go, that's why they want to work with me, because they're like, wow, I haven't seen that before. So it's a really different way of showing up in the world. And what I love is I learned from you about how that other way is really a broken leadership model, because it's not real. No. Like we might have a big win, we might be succeeding, but we can't get away from them thoughts of that fear or doubt sometimes and uncertainty that's going to come up on the journey.
Yeah, and I think this is really important, listeners, is that we have to remind ourselves, no matter what, when we're under duress, our stuff is going to come up. And you can't mindset yourself away from it. It just comes up. And if we don't actually start sharing what's truly going on, then we're going to build a lot of pressure on ourselves. And this can actually lead to disease, because a lot of entrepreneurs, they end up getting sick in relationship to health. And it's not just physical health I'm talking about, it's mental health. But people don't actually do the one thing I think that's really important for you, Samantha, which is emotional health, right? No one talks about emotional health. They just talk about this, we've got to get our mental health right. That emotions start before mental, right? Yeah. We have this emotional stuff and then our thoughts back them up. They say this in sales, and you're really good at helping people, earn money and get sales and all of those sorts of things. And we are taught, we emotionally decide, and then we back up with our thoughts. So if we're not emotionally equipped and we keep doing mindset, we're missing the whole point of our systems. It's so obvious to me, we make a decision emotionally, but where are people training emotional magic?
That's so true. Emotional intelligence for entrepreneurs, because that's probably one of the most common things that I actually see for my clients. Their income's going up and down because their emotions are too. Now I feel really good, so I show up and I do all the things, and now I don't feel so good about myself, and then they hide, they isolate, and so their business is like this, and then I saw that pattern in myself too. And so emotional mastery and emotional intelligence is the number one thing, I think, in order to really have success and consistency, stay committed, to not allow for, what we're feeling about ourselves to then affect how we're showing up and whether we're staying on path with our commitments and promises to ourselves as an entrepreneur.
That's right. And you're right about the showing up part, is that, as you've said to me many times, and I really appreciate you, Samantha, because being in the world of entrepreneurship like you have been for years, and actually communicating to me and telling me that I've not seen anyone lead like you. And I know I'm unique, but to get that feedback from someone who's been in the game, who's learnt from big players, and then there's little Jason, or so he thinks, sharing something that is completely off base to what's being taught right now, and you liking it, and not just liking it, actually starting to embody it for your clients as well.
100%. Now that I talk about this in this way, like I've never found anybody in the world. I've worked with the world's most renowned energy medicine school and the biggest names that are out there in the self-help thing. And all my clients have worked with them people too. And they said, one client said to me the other day, he's like, wow, I've done this for 10, 15 years. And I'm realizing that NLP, it's not about just reframing. He said, NLP, this person, that person, that person, this works. And in 2 weeks, he felt a change from me just talking to this stuff about what you teach. And so I see this as the leading way in how we actually have emotional mastery, clarity over self, and actually actualize our life and be our biggest and brightest self in this way. And I think you summed it up really well in one of our calls once. You said, we're not born to be gods, we're born here to be humans. And it's so refreshing. One thing that I'm for everybody listening that's so refreshing is I know that Jason's background is spirituality, but what Jace has really showed me is that a lot of the ways in which we're talking about spirituality is completely distorted in today's world. And so I realized I was practicing more spiritual bypassing than what true spirituality actually is. And now I've been able to, embody more of this myself. And I've realized that if we leave parts of us behind, the insecure parts, the parts we don't think are enough, they'll just continue to sabotage our success. So I've been learning how to turn my insecurities and my flaws into assets. And then it's like I'm able to bring all parts of me along on the journey.
And isn't that amazing to actually be able to, isn't it cool when you get it, one of your clients and like, I'm doing it with you, and then your clients just go, bam, and they feel like they can be okay with themselves in a heartbeat. And it, as a helper, Samantha, it must feel really good for you to actually see the work working for you. And then you actually seeing your clients going, oh my God, this actually really does work.
100%. Like all my other training, I don't really do anymore because this works the best. I spent over 250 grand training with all these different people. I don't even do that. I don't even do them techniques with anybody anymore, because what I've learned is that all them techniques were very long and windy. And they're all cathartic releases. Jason's work just happens in like 1 minute, 2 minutes, and it's easy. And I'm like, why not just show them that? Like, I don't even do any, like, I don't do any other stuff. I just do what I learn in your academy. It's the real deal. And like, what's great is I have so much more trust in my capacity to expose, to do things now. And that's because I know this stuff really deeply works. Like out of this year, I've never committed to something like I committed to the academy, 300 hours. And I've never committed to anything else because I wasn't seeing the results. When I started to see the results, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, I'm going to put all my energy into this. I literally committed, got up every single morning, did what Jace does, which is you go into your pain and your problems every morning, you try to liberate them from them. And, I have, for a long time, most people here wouldn't know, but for me, like when I was 21, 22, I was about to commit suicide. I'm 29 now, and next year I'll be 30. And I actually, for most of my life, didn't think I was going to live beyond 30 because I didn't actually know how to cope with my emotions. And so there's been this new zest for life, this new inspiration, this new, support that I feel, knowing Jason, knowing his own background, and the level of support and community I get from being in the academy, because I feel more capable. I'm seeing the results and I feel more capable to go after my dreams, and I feel very supported. One of the things I always struggled with was I thought I was going to be rejected by groups of people. And so being able to just be in this academy, have a leader accept me. If you don't know how to accept yourself, then, and you're still trying to get clarity over yourself, sometimes you need somebody outside of you to kind of, who has an understanding of you, to help you understand you and accept you. And it's just been that this entire time. And so I'm just feeling so much more safer and secure in me. And I know this wouldn't be possible without your work.
Yeah. And this is what I love about, getting feedback around this, because there are times where I had this just a couple of weeks ago. I was like, maybe this stuff just doesn't work. Right. And I have that. I have those thoughts happening all the time. And I just go, yeah, maybe it doesn't. And I just go, well, it doesn't work. and I just let it not work. And then I get all this feedback of it working. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because quite often we can listen to feedback and one person tells you, hey, I'm not happy. And you think that's your world, don't you?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah. And it's also, like I know in the academy, there's just so many people that I can see their entire lives have changed. And there's just so much gratitude. And I know so many people talk about how, it's a family like they never had. For me, the academy is the family I never had, really. And so I've also hated you at times.
Yeah.
So people are probably having like a hating Jason moment where the ego is like, I don't want to change. And so, yeah, you've got to, I guess that's part of just the journey.
Yeah, and I know. Look, just going back a little bit further from our conversation that you had, when you have a lot of experience, right? A lot of experience and we're talking about people who have made, themselves in a big way, and then I come along. You don't know. I'm not the brand out there that is seen. So who are you to tell me something that these guys have told me all this cool stuff? So I paid a lot of money for it. And then I'm giving you, I remember this one moment, and this is one of the moments where I remembered when you really hated me. I said, Samantha, it doesn't have to hurt to grow. And you were like, no, that's not it. That's not how it works. Just remember, all this stuff is really cathartic and really difficult. And I'm like, no, it can happen in 2 minutes, the reset. No, and you just hated me for it because I spent so much money on the rules here. Yeah, and it can be challenging when someone's challenging your very belief and constructs that you've been handed to by people who are in the know, right?
100%. I had this rigid idea of myself in the world. And a lot of that was around, having this experience of abuse, trauma, blah, blah, blah. All these stories. And so what I realized is that you kept challenging this rigid identity I had, this rigid idea of the world. And I'm like, don't change it. But I couldn't get the life I wanted unless I saw myself in the world differently. Yeah. And so sometimes we want to hold on, but thankfully, one of the biggest things is I needed a man in authority of leadership who was so in integrity. And I never had got that. In fact, most men in leadership positions and in authority have broken my trust repeatedly. Okay. And I've never, ever, I don't see another person, holding themselves in the way where you really let people into your inner world, and then, others are letting you into their inner world, but just holding that degree of integrity with the challenging part, with the part of you that can challenge people so hectically. And I think it's, it's due to the safety and the trust that you're really committed to building. And it's great because it's showing me now. I'm now like, oh, I have to hold that much safety, that much trust with my own clients. And as a leader in the world, I really see how much responsibility comes with it.
It does. And I think the thing that we can quite often be missing as leaders is to understand that integrity is a lifelong journey. It's not something that you can say, I own integrity. Like like when someone says, like you've just said, Samantha, oh, you've got so much integrity. I just think, where are I go straight to the areas that I know I've got to lift my game in. I had 3 people last year say, you're the closest that I'll ever come to a person like Jesus. And I felt so bad, right? So most people who would hear that, like the big egocentric, big players would go, yes, of course. I'm a bit Jesus-like. Of course I am. I'm that guy. And I will be the person who will give you that salvation. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I better lift my game. Right? To have someone call out an icon that has been through the thousands of years that have been revered, whether you like him or not, is an icon, right? And the representation of what he represents is, purity and doing the right thing and being the right human. And having that called out by 3 separate people last year, I was like, man, I got to lift my game because I'm nothing like that dude, in my own opinion. And I think as leaders, I think we all need to learn how to build integrity over our lifetime, because our ego will fucking catch us and it will start ripping us apart without us even knowing.
Yeah, 100%. And what's helped me with this is, I think the prerequisite to integrity is humility. And if we think about what often, well, for myself, what has taken me out of integrity is that I've become arrogant or full of myself, or I want to make it all about me. And so I've been learning how in every group call, in every time, even when you receive feedback, I see what you do. And I see how you make it about other people. You constantly build it, like you're talking about other people's successes. Yeah. It's never about Jace's success. It's always other people's successes, building other people up. And so I think I've been seeing how you are incredibly humble. And it seems to be that humility helps you to stay in integrity and not be a dick with success, which I'm trying not to become.
Yeah. Well, I think it's challenging because I've been in areas, I've gone to best-selling people, and I've been behind the scenes, and I've walked away feeling very, very jaded, because one thing I've learned from working and seeing a lot of big players in the development industry is they hear so much amazing feedback, right? Oh, you changed my life. This book was the best book I ever read. And it can take you on an egocentric journey, right? And then I would meet them and I'm like, oh, you've listened to way too much of the good feedback and you're not willing to hear the bad feedback. And so there have been times where people have given me feedback. I'm not happy with this. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's see if we can change that and make it better. And if someone's unhappy with me, I'm really happy to apologize, right? And I think leaders have forgotten their P's and Q's when they've heard too much good feedback, in quotes.
Yeah.
So I think there's a really important balance in receiving feedback in a really healthy way, because you can look and see someone, like there's a guy, his name's Dom. He's really hasn't done too much of the leadership space in the world. He gave me some feedback on one comment. I was like, God, that's so important that I do that. He just joined, and I think what's really important as a leader is the bum off the street. I'm not saying bums are bad, just the person with no money can give you amazing feedback and change your life with one sentence. And I think we can get lost as leaders as going, we look up, we're at a certain amount of money that we earn, and we go, okay, the only people that we can learn off are based on a financial representation. So we go, okay, we're on $500,000 a year or $1 million a year or whatever. And we go, okay, well, I've got to meet the person who's on $5 million a year, and I'll only listen to them because they're going to take us. And this is what we're taught in leadership: only listen to the people who are ahead of us in the game. But this is only ahead of us in the financial game. That doesn't mean they're good people. And that doesn't mean they really know what they're doing. They've just made a lot of money. Because we can see in astrology where you can see, we call them burnt matchstick people, where they could sell burnt matchsticks and make a lot of money. But are they integral? Have they developed themselves well? Have they? And the people who are really, really developed, they will listen to everybody's feedback, no matter who, no matter where, no matter why. And I think we get lost in this whole rule, and we get taught it, don't we, Samantha? It's just like, okay, the person we have to listen to is the person who's made the pay grade beyond us. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm like, is Jason reading my mind?
Yeah.
I 100%. Like I'm that person that you're speaking to. You know, I've always been taught that whatever the amount of money is you want to make, then go find somebody that's making that, and that's it. There was this really interesting call though that you did in the academy where you spoke about the financial success was the person of wisdom, and that in ancient times they were the one that was paid the most. And so we kind of don't value that in today's society. And so, you know, really, I guess that's what the real currency is. I think that's what you're talking to here. It's like, go and learn from the wisest person, the person that's the most aware in all areas, because the way that person might have gone to 10 million, 20 million, they might have been out of integrity along the way.
Yeah. And I think one thing that we can do is if we take a handshake behind the cupboard and it's a naughty handshake, we're going to keep creating naughty handshakes as we are making more finances. And that's what integrity is all about. It's just like, how can we find, like, usually the wise people are hiding, and you see them in the books. It's like, we have to go to that mountain. Right? But there's a trouble with those people as well, because they're not in society living life based on society. Right?
100%. Yeah.
And I think this is really important, that we meet people who are in society and we find the person that's actually going to help us. And it's not necessarily the person who's making the most money. It's the person that's, at the end of the day, what's our currency? Right? And if our currency is currency and that's it, then we're never going to be happy, because we're going to be chasing a dollar. And how much dollars do we need to actually be happy? You don't need any. Right? And so that's where development has been missed. And then it's been miscued again, because a lot of the people who say we don't need any don't make any. They complain about the world. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, there's a huge split, isn't it? So we need the people that have the financial money to have the integrity in the heart of the people like Dom. Yeah. And he needs to be earning good money. Yeah.
Right? Because he's got the heart in the right place, but he doesn't have the magic yet to actually build the finance. This is what we're really focusing with people, is having really nice people come first and teaching them and reestablishing integrity. Because we have these words, let's say we value honesty, but how many people, listeners, are actually, someone asks you how you're doing and you say good thanks as your automatic response when you feel like a bag of shit and you don't want anyone to know and you've just done your first lie for the day. Right? But then how do we do it without pouring our shit on everybody? Right? And that's a real challenge. How do we be authentic and honest without feeling? And this is one of the things I think that probably scared you and scares a lot of people, is that it's the way that we communicate where we are that really matters. Right? So if we're pouring hot oil or processing on everyone emotion, this is how I am, and you should need to validate me right now. But we've got to look, hey, I'm feeling really out of balance right now. I've been really emotional, and I've been teary all day, and this is where I'm at, and I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to get it healed. And it's knowing how to regulate that really, really well and do it well. Yeah. And because we're not taught how to be emotionally vulnerable well. Are we?
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, we don't have anybody that's modeling it. You know, we don't have any, and especially, like, I think it's for women and men, but we don't have anybody modeling it in a way where I think there may be, you know, I think for spiritual people, it's like you see it in sometimes women's circles, in men's circles, but you don't see it where the person has a successful company, they're married and they're living in society. And that's why I was drawn to you, because I was like, I've never seen somebody with Jason's awareness, married, you know, advocating for financial wealth and success and writing books and wanting to be like, I had to travel to Peru and see the medicine people. My mentor, I had seen such a fractured society with that. So to see you living in society, you know, practicing emotional mastery to this utmost degree, and then vulnerability and authenticity. And I was like, but most people that are like you, Jace, want to be the gods of the world, and you're wanting to be human too. So it's just been amazing to see you to do it all.
Yeah. And I think this is really, really important, is that if we look at the superhero stories, the Lokis of the world are the ones that want to stand out and say, I'm gonna save it, right? But they're the bad guys, right? The Thor, the Wonder Woman, the Superwoman, the Superman. They have humility in their pockets. It's all the stories are around that. But I think humanity's forgotten, right? How to be human in nature and connect with the God within us, right? Because we all have this amazing stuff inside of us, and our job is to be human and reach it. Right?
Yeah.
And imagine what it'd be like, Samantha, if everyone took one breath in and decided to connect with that beautiful, peaceful part of us without worrying about what the world's going to do to us. If we all took one breath in, what do you think the world would be like?
More in balance and harmony.
Yeah. And it comes down to completely surrendering to our problems, right? And knowing that no one's meant to be perfect. Godlike is like perfection, right? That's the idea. The ideal is that. The real is we've got all stuff going on. I'm disorganized. I forget shit, right? I have so many problems in the way that I function, right? But I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm okay with my parts that I can't do because there are other people who do those things well that I can hire to do the things that actually I don't do very well. And I think, to be perfect in every way is really, really hard. And we all have buckets that are difficult, right? And we need to learn how to fill them with the right. If I look at my life right now, I've got like family, friends, intimacy, purpose, finance, and health are all going really, really well for me. They're the 6 major areas of life that we want to work with, and I'm really happy with all of them. They're all working, right? And they're only working because I'm accepting where I'm faulty.
Yes, and that's a great one because I used to want to wish away my problems, and now I don't want to wish away them. I want to learn from them. And actually I'm learning that the more I learn from them, the more people that I can help. And so I used to want to get it away, get it fixed like as soon as I can. And now I'm like, oh no, I just want to, like, hey, you're with me for life. That problem, that's what I've learned now. I'm like, oh, my problems are with me for life, and that's okay. Every day I just choose to write a new relationship with them.
Wow.
And oh my God, that changed my life.
Isn't it cool?
Like I'm like, oh my God, everybody in self-help and everything like that, you've got it wrong. I was like, you don't want to wish away your problem. Like, you want to learn from it, from life. Yeah.
That's right. And so here's a different spin, guys, affirmation wise. Someone asked me this. I was on my first ever podcast that never got put up. The reason why I can, as you said, my stuff's the complete opposite to the coaching industry and the healing industry and the spiritual industry. It's completely different. So when I do my affirmations, I'm not good enough. Nothing's going to work. No one's going to like me. And that's all okay by me. So I'm actually not trying to put a spin on I'm great, everything's going to be great, I'm awesome, and trying to put concrete and pour concrete over the stuff that we're hiding. I actually do something very, very simple. Just completely honor the space I'm at, where I'm at it. And what it does is it just takes it away.
Yeah. And this has been so good for me, especially around the theme of like insecurity and confidence. Because I realized that like, if I just kept wanting confidence, I would become arrogant. It's actually insecurity that, brings it down, and then they get to both be in balance. And then I learn how to be humble and confident. 100%. And so, and the same failure and success, the more I kept wanting to have success, it was like, I remember before I did my recent brand launch, I kept feeling this fear of failure. And I was like, well, what does the fear of failure have to teach me? And then if I could just accept what it had to teach me, then I got to bring them learnings into success. And I didn't have to have, them external failures so to say, because I was learning both from failure and success along the way.
Yeah, and I think this is really important, listeners, because if you're focusing on success, the moment you reach it, you're going to be fighting to keep it. And this is where the arrogance comes in, because if you question a leader who has made it based on their own framework and their own way, and then they've gotten success, then the biggest fear for that person is losing that success and it disappearing. So that's why you go and question a leader and they get cranky at you, listeners. There's a reason for their pain. They're only in pain and they're wanting to fight for survival. They're still in survival instinct without themselves even knowing if they're getting cranky. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because they are scared of losing what they've built.
Yeah.
So if you haven't built something right now, right, the person who has built it, their biggest fear is going back to their insecurities and their worries and concerns again. So they are putting the show on for that reason. They do not want to go back to the poor mentality that they had that created success. So there comes at a cost, success does.
Yeah.
Right? And the big cost is actually keeping the success flowing. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's where the arrogance can come in. So when I see that in a lot of leaders, I understand, I have compassion for why they're actually fighting for survival and they don't know it. So they're like, you just don't understand because you haven't made it where I am. Right. And I know for me, like when all the businessy stuff is not so important to me. I just want people to grow. And I know at the end of the day, our academy is going to be amazing. It's going to be really big and exposed. And the most important thing around this is knowing that I don't want to be like them, right? So what I've got to do right now is I do this all the time. What if everything falls apart? I let myself engage with that because I've been in business since 1998 and I've been earning my own money. I haven't been in a job since 1997, right? I've been contracting as an IT programmer. So I was never in a full-time job. So there was always this, what if it all falls apart? And so when you engage with that rather than being frightened of it, then yeah, of course, businesses always go up and down financially, right? That if you engage with it, hey, what if it does? Right? Does that make sense? Like we need to learn to be okay with things falling apart financially, things dropping, because it's a normal part of our everyday experience. But the goal is to detach from that drop, right? And that's what the big leaders don't want to detach from. I've created this system, follow the system, and they can get really irate and cranky and just say, well, you don't have enough skin in the game. Right? But that's not necessarily the case. It might mean that you might have a whole lot of psychology that you haven't dealt with, and a system is not going to improve your business flow, right? Because you've got stuff going on that you are hiding under the covers that's dropping your affluent levels.
Yeah, and I really hear what you're saying there, and I love what you talk about, the I and the we.
Yeah.
And this whole concept of like, I think what I feel that very fear you're speaking to inside of me as I become more successful or more money. It's like the same fear I had with receiving $10,000. I know it's going to be the same fear I'll have when there's $1 million. Like the fear doesn't go away. No. It only amplifies, it seems, with the more success. And so this kind of concept of, well, I'm like trying to not be defined by the movement. Because I used to find I would do something, I'd do a launch, a book, and I'd find that there was this huge like high and then low.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to practice is to not be defined and attached to the business, so to say, so I cannot experience that high and low, to be both okay with, well, it's here now, and also to be okay with maybe it'll be gone tomorrow, kind of like what you're saying.
Right.
But I'm still trying to learn from you with this. Yeah.
Yeah. And it does take a little bit of time to adjust to it, doesn't it? Because look, at the end of the day, you've written, you've got one book out and you've launched is it out yet?
The second one, I just saw a book two's number, it's covered today. It comes out in just over a month, 6 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. So, you've got this thing that you do, and we get business entrepreneurs are built on an endorphin kicker, right? They're built on a massive endorphin kicker. When we do something, we go, oh my God, I've created this thing. And if it hasn't created exactly what we wanted, we feel let down by it, right? And it's a challenge. So how do we build success that's not monetary? How do we build success that's not based on everyone loving us? How do we build success regardless? And Anya said this to me this year. Jason, things haven't worked out the way you've wanted them. There's been lots of flat spots, things have, lots of rejections, all that sort of stuff. But, as an entrepreneur, you get more rejections than you can ever imagine, listeners. It's just constant rejections, and there's lots of acceptance when, people are wanting to work with you or not. What she said to me around my success was really beautiful. She said, Jason, you show up every day, and that's more success than you can ever imagine. And I looked at that and I was like, yeah, I am a really successful dude because I'm showing up every day. And every day, not every day is like the great day. I show up every day no matter what. So, and you've seen this, I'll verbally say I'm having one of those moments where I'm teary and this has happened and that's happened. There's never ever a drop in the level of care and support that the Academy members receive. And that's what I believe true success is. You show up every day, let go of the money, show up every day and the money will come. What do you think of that?
I like that. Yeah, I really deeply do. And I've been reading a book, something about talent, and it talks about this, like science is even backing up that it's not about, there's not these people that are just born naturally good at something, or it doesn't come down, the thing that actually predicts success or world-class performance is consistent effort every day. Now, they say that with science too. And I love this because this means that, anybody, we're actually, at the end of the day, we're all in the same spot. Like if you want to be successful at anything, all you have to do is not give up and consistently show up every single day. And it feels better to do that when you have a tribe. Like I love the Academy and being able to post what I'm doing every week, and when you're around a tribe of people and everybody's going in that common goal or a certain vision, like you just feel like it's more enjoyable, that journey. And I think it's about, putting your time and focus in, well, it's the person you become along the way, because you're never guaranteed of the destination. You're not guaranteed of anything. It's like, I'm learning to celebrate who I become, like my out of balance self and my balanced self, because I'm realizing that both of them have gifts. It's not about just celebrating when you're making money or celebrating when it's a best-selling author. Celebrate the mistakes, celebrate the bad decisions. And it's just about the learnings along the way.
Yeah. And listeners, this is really, really important, is that I said this to the people in year 3 just last week about, getting the things that you really want. And now, what if this was happening? What if you were never meant to get it? Right? So imagine this, you've spent all this time wanting a certain thing. And I mentioned a particular lady who has an amazing partner and IVF treatment, never had a kid, right? And tried everything, was devastated, absolutely devastated. Obviously it wasn't meant to be. Everything, perfect partner, tried everything natural, tried everything, with the medical system, and nothing worked and didn't get to have a child, right? And she was glued to this idea, and she obviously was not meant to have it. So one thing that we need to learn is that what if we don't get what we want? The thing is, what we've got to do is give it a crack, right? We've got to give it a massive crack and see where we go, right? If we don't get it, and this is where success comes from, if we don't get it, at least we've given it a try. So on our tombstone, we have written, we gave it a shot. We gave it a massive crack. We didn't make excuses. And then the other part on that tombstone that we've got to really have, otherwise we'll be mentally jaded with, what if we can accept what we already have while we're on the journey of attainment for what we haven't achieved yet?
Yes. This is such an important conversation because I've experienced the pain of that. 7 years I went down thinking I'm going to create this, and I realized I didn't create it and it wasn't it. And for 7 years, I thought that was all of my life. So for any visionary who knows with every shadow of the doubt, like, I'm born for this, I'm to create this, I know the pain of like, oh shit, like that's not it. And I now what I say to myself is, this isn't it, is it? Because it's like, we can't comprehend what's actually meant for us. And so I've got an idea now and I'm like, it's probably not it. Like, this isn't it, is it? This isn't it, is it? It's like there's just this constant journey. And so I'm learning to not focus on the outside and just focus on the person I want to become, and to surrender in that way.
And Samantha, that language that you're saying right now is pure success. Right? And then person you become is going to be what you're meant to become. And then the things that we create along the way are waypoints. They're not defining points. They're waypoints that give us the physical manifestation of the desires that we want to build, but they're not us. Right? It's the person that comes along that way. And when we're satisfied with who that is, then there's the true success that exists in our world. Because some people, imagine this, Samantha, I'm not saying this for you, but imagine there's a client of yours, right? And your client wants to make $1 million a year in their business. And they've got a ceiling and they don't know what that ceiling is, but let's say their ceiling's 500K. So they're on 10 times the average Australian income. But they're a failure for the rest of their life because they didn't get to $1 million. They got halfway. Right? And they absolutely mentally jaded themselves because they couldn't get to their goal. Right? And so this is the idea, is what if you're not meant to have it, that you take the journey and then you accept what you do have. And imagine you're earning 10 times the amount of income that most Australians earn, and you're doing really well financially for yourself. You own your own home, everything's going really well, but you can't be satisfied.
Yes. And this is the big point of difference in the work that you do, because you've got that level of wisdom to be able to see and know these things about people. And, they may, with every single shadow of a doubt, go, no, that's what I need for my life. And you're like, oh, but, your heart actually, what would make your heart really happy is to have this. Yeah. And it could save someone a shit ton of like energy, time, money, like going down this track, when you're the wiser person is like, PS, like, just don't go down this track. And I know that like so many people have experienced that. And so like, imagine that, like, imagine not having to go down 5-7 years down a track that you'd only end up feeling unfulfilled with, and being able to save yourself all that pain.
100%. And look, one of the things that I just want to hand this to you as a woman, you have kids, right? So as a female entrepreneur, there can be a massive diversion that happens along the way with kids. It's like, you might not want to be this 7-8 figure income earner once kids come along, because you don't know as a woman what that experience is going to bring you. Yeah. Right? So that's why it's so important to actually know, what if we're not meant to have it? What if we're having what we have and we're creating a really lovely balance in our universe? Because things change, right? And if we don't be adaptable to our changes, then we say, oh, well, I was meant to have this, and then I had kids, and then I couldn't have what I wanted. But that's not the truth, right? We've got to learn how to adapt and decide what we want. There's a lady, her name's Kate, in the academy, and she's like created this amazing business before she joined us, a dancing company where she was killing it in Canberra. And she said to me, I've got this new thing and I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get really busy, Jay. And I said, what if you actually do it on your own terms? What if you're not that busy? She's like, what do you mean? Just have a few clients. Just have the number that you want. So you get that really good balance with your family. You have a really good balance with your business. What if you just make it this amount? Oh, and she just didn't think that she could just have the way that she wanted it to be without being this super, super entrepreneurial world. She wanted to have it really mum focused first and then business second. And she really was dedicated to that. And I said, well, just do these numbers and then that will actually suit your lifestyle. And then when they get to this age, you can ramp that up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great point, because it's what I've been focusing on the last 18 months. One of the things that I don't do well at the moment is I tend to put all my energy into one or two buckets. And I know there's the 6, like you said. And so how do we have our energy can't only be in the bucket of purpose. As a woman entrepreneur, there's mother, there's relationship, this and that. And how do we create a balanced lifestyle that supports all the archetypes of who we know ourselves to be? And this is something that I wish to focus on more the next 12 months as well, is to be able to do what you just spoke about. Yeah,
and I think this is really important, guys. So when you're in business, you've got to know how to create a really lovely balance in your life, to put the effort in. Just remember there's other things in life as well. We can get lost in the business world and lose sight of where we really want to go. And imagine you always wanted to be a mum, Samantha. We've spoken about this, how important this is for you. And imagine if all your focuses went on just business, and then you forgot your relationship bucket, and then you didn't really pull your gears in that, and then all of a sudden years go by and it's like you haven't got that right situation, right? So we've got to know how to do that well, I think, especially for females in entrepreneurship, which is who you help a lot of. Yeah
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So, and I said this to someone just recently around this. I said, okay, you've got this beautiful partner now. She was a dry desert before she joined the academy, and she's got this amazing partner now. And I said, she had her goals where she wanted to be. And I said, now what I want you to think about is I want you to put where the kids are going to be placed in that journey. And she was like, oh, I didn't even think of that. And I said, yes, really important. Space where you want those kids to be placed, where that's got to look. So then you can actually visionary that part of your world and how you want your world to look like in some sort of way as a plan. And she's like, oh, I didn't even think of that. And I was like, yeah, let's put that in. And then that gives a really good dynamic and gives a really good balance about, where we want to go in all worlds, not just business world.
100%. And I made that decision for myself at the start of this year. And I was like, this is when I want to have children. This is my business structure I'll need. This is the money I want. And, I know that I have to let go of the attachment of all of that as well. But that pre-planning around that, to know when, how, who, especially if you're the coach or the facilitator, because you're not going to be able to show up in the way that you were when you have them children. And I know deep in my heart, the thing that I've always wanted was to be a mother over anything else.
Yeah.
And so, just, trying to understand myself and to be able to create a life that enables me to be able to feel very on purpose and also to be a mother. I'm learning how, since I've been really in the academy, and that pre-planning is a big part of it, I think.
Yeah, I think it's really, really, really important, Samantha. And look, I love you to, what's one piece of advice that you could give our listeners right now around, creativity and, backing yourself, because you're amazing. Like, you're on social media all the time, and I know you've had hard days. We've been working with your hard days. You're amazing. You still show up so consistently. What is it about you that keeps showing up all the time, no matter what?
I think the two ingredients for success are self-belief and self-trust.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that self-belief and self-trust comes not because of who I think I am. It's my self-belief and self-trust comes from what's guiding me and that connection. And so back when I was 22 and I wanted to give up my life, I'd never used the word God, spirit, anything like this. And I remember going, like, I prayed in that moment. I was like, okay, like I let go of who I think I should be, what my life should be, and society's idea of success. Please guide me in the direction of what will fulfill me and make me happy. And what I learned is that the more that I contribute to others, the happier and fulfilled I become. So each morning I wake up and I sit in meditation and prayer, and I go, like, where should I go today? Who do I need to speak to today? What do I need to say to them? And in that place, a message comes through that I speak that day. And every day that I just stay on purpose, committed to contributing and sharing, joy, a message of inspiration with the world, no matter if I'm feeling happy or sad, I show up for them.
Yeah.
And that's actually why I do it. Like, because I get that little me's like, oh my gosh, I think I'm cool. That actually isn't why I show up, because I don't even believe it's me here. I'm here. But what I actually do is I just show up. I live my life by intent that I want to be the best me. When I get into a group call, when I write the post, I'm like, I'm just like, I show up and I just deliver, a message that streams through me. And because of that, because I believe that I am supported by something greater than me, I know it doesn't let me down.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it's not about little me showing up or trusting in little me or believing in little me. I know that I trust in my capacity to listen to that intuition or listen to that voice. And it's that what gives me the self-belief and self-trust and the capacity to keep showing up every day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Hopefully you guys who are feeling stagnated and don't feel like you can do that, there is something bigger inside of us that's wanting us to share, and it makes a big difference when we have faith in that, I think. So Samantha, I really want to thank you for showing up today and doing this podcast. I did message you this morning and it's like, you want to do that podcast? It's like, sure, what about 10:30? It's like, got half an hour, and that's the coolest thing about you. It's just like there's a yes, and yeah, I'm willing to show up unprepared, because that's the magician that you are. So listeners, I'll put all of Samantha's magic, how to find her, what she does, and also send me the links of your books. We'll put those in the show notes so then people can hunt you down. So thank you so much for jumping on Uncovered today.
Thank you so much, Jace.
Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate you, and we really appreciate your time, because time is so valuable. What we'd love you guys to do, if you like this podcast, if you could share it with your friends, and also our website address for the podcast is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademypodcast.com. Our website is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademy.com. We have a free Facebook group called Wellness Leadership Evolution, so search for that. I'd love it if you could add me as a friend on Facebook. I don't bite, so add me as a friend. And if you want some help and you would really like some support from us in the Academy, jump in. We have a process. You can do a break-in call to connect in with us. We do small courses. We have lots of things that we share. So we'd love the opportunity to give you a chance to change your life and turn it into a free one. You are one transformation away from change. Come and catch up.